In this video, we're going to cover the most basic form of factoring trinomials. So we're left with trinomials, and there is no number in front of our x, so the a value that we can't see here is 1. I'm going to teach you how to factor trinomials using a square. This is called the area method. So I'm going to set up a square for my first factor, and I'm always going to put the x squared in the top, the x off to the side, and the number in the bottom. And it'll work like that every single time. Then I'm going to come up with the dimensions of the sides of each of these squares that are going to multiply together to get me what I want. So I'm going to start with x squared. The only thing you can multiply together to get x squared is x and x. So the side of this square and the top of this square is x times x, and I multiply them together to get x squared. Next, I'm going to do 6. So I want to multiply two numbers together to get 6, but I want those two numbers, once they are here and here, to add up to my middle value of 5x. So let me think about the factors of 6. I'll start with 1. 1 times 6 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6. Let's see, we could do 3 times 2, but since we already have 3 written down, we can stop. It's just going to be 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Obviously, the 2 and the 3 are going to add up to 5. So I'll put the 2 in one spot and the 3 in the other. The dimensions of this first box are going to be 2 times x, which is 2x. And this box will be 3 times x, which is 3x. And you want these two boxes on the diagonal to add up to your middle value, which is 5x. So we have 3x and 2x equals 5x. So the factor of our first trinomial is x plus 3 times x plus 2. Let's try out another one. I'll do this one in a different color so we can keep everything straight. We'll set up the box here. And our x squared always goes in the top corner. Our x value goes outside the box. And then the number goes in the bottom. So the only way to get x squared is x times x. So I did this side times this side. X times x is x squared. Now I'm going to come up with the numbers I can multiply together to get 32. So I can do 1 and 32, 2 and 16. 3 does not go into 32. So next I'll go to 4 and 8. 5 does not go into 32. 6 does not go into 32. 7 does not go into 32. 8 does, but I already have 8 written down, so I can stop. Now I have to decide of these 3 pairs of numbers, which one, when I put them here and here, is going to add up to the 12x I'm looking for. And obviously that one is going to be the 4 and the 8. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use a positive 4 and a positive 8. 4 times x will give me 4x. 8 times x will give me 8x. And 8x plus 4x will add up to 12x. So my factor for the second problem is going to be x plus 8 times x plus 4. And I'm getting that final answer from the side and the top of my factor square. You can do it in either order. You can have x plus 4 times x plus 8, or you can have x plus 8 times x plus 4. So either way is fine. Whether you get the top or the side first, it really doesn't matter. I typically do the side first, but that's just a preference. You can do either order. Let's try the next one. Once you start practicing these, you may be able to see them without even writing out the factors. And if that's the case, just go ahead and go for it. X squared on top, 9x outside of our box, and then 14 in the bottom. So obviously to get to x squared, we did x times x. And let's see how we can get to 9x using 14. So 14, we can do 1 and 14. We can do 2 and 7. 3 does not go into 14. 4 does not go into 14. 5 does not go into 14. 6 does not go into 14. 7 does, but we already have 7 listed. Obviously, we're going to pick 2 and 7 because 2 plus 7 is 9. So you can put the 2 and the 7 in either spot. Up here, we're going to have 2 times x, which is 2x, and 7 times x, which is 7x. So, to be clear, x times x gets us x squared, 2 times x gets us 2x, 7 times x gets us 7x, and the 7 times the 2 gets us 14. So that's how we fill in that box. These two on the diagonal add up to 9x. So our factor here is going to be x plus 7 times x plus 2. All right, let's try another one. We're trying to get to 7x using a 10. So we'll set up our factor square as we always do. We'll put x squared on top, 7x in the corner, and then we're trying to get it to multiply to 10. So our factors of 10 are 1 and 10 and 2 and 5. 3 does not go into 10, 4 does not go into 10, 5 does, but we already have 5 listed. To get x squared, we obviously did x and x. We are going to choose 2 and 5 because 2 and 5 are going to add up to 7 when I put them here and here. So 2 and 5. This will be 2x, this will be 5x. So x and x got me x squared, 2 and x got me 2x, 5 and x got me 5x, and 2 and 5 got me the 10. The 5x and the 2x add up to 7x, so we know we did it correctly. Our factor will be x plus 5, which I got from here, times x plus 2, which I got from here. Okay, let's keep going. We'll set up our square. The x squared will go in the top. The 9x will go off to the side, and we're trying to multiply to 14. This is one we did before. So you should be able to do this in your head. You'll do x, and then 2 and 7, because you'll get 2x and 7x, which adds up to 9x. So x plus 7, x plus 2. Now, we have a challenging question here because this now has a negative value. So we're going to set up our square as always, and then we're going to talk through what we do whenever we have a negative value in the middle. So our x squared's here, adds up to negative 5x, and then multiplies to a positive 6. So we obviously multiplied x times x to get x squared. Now we're going to have to multiply two numbers together to get positive 6, but those two numbers are going to have to add up to negative 5. So if we're multiplying to a positive number and adding to a negative number, both of those numbers are going to need to be negative because a negative times a negative equals a positive, and a negative plus a negative equals a negative. We're going to have to do factors like this. Both of them are going to have to be negative. And we know our factors of 6, right? So it's 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. We have to figure out which one, when we multiply it together, multiplies to 6, and add together adds to a negative 5. Obviously, the negative 2 and the negative 3 is going to be our pick, because x minus 2, x minus 3 is going to give us a negative 2x up here, a negative 3x down here, and the negative 2 times the negative 3 is still going to give us the positive 6. So our factor here will be x minus 3, x minus 2. So be careful, sometimes they are tricky with the negatives in the middle. Let's try 6 more here. Okay. You'll see we have another one with a negative in the middle. So if we are multiplying to a positive number and adding up to a negative number, both of the numbers are going to have to be negative because a negative times a negative gives you a positive number. X squared goes here, the negative 8x goes right here, and then my 12 goes in the bottom. I'm trying to multiply to a positive 12. And remember, both numbers have to be negative in order for us to get a negative number in the middle. So this could be -1 and -12, -2 and -6, and -3 and -4. -4 we already have, so we can stop there. We're going to look and we see that -2 and -6 multiply to +12, and they'll add up to my -8. So we could have the x and x here. We'll do a -2 and a -6. This will give us -2x and -6x, and they add up to -8x, so we did it correctly. Our factor will be x minus 6 times x minus 2. All right, we are looking at all positive numbers for number 2 here, all positive numbers. So we don't need to concern ourselves when we do our factors for 24. We don't need to concern ourselves with negative numbers at all. Let's set this one up. We will have x squared on top, 24 on the bottom, and the 11x off to the side. To get x squared, we obviously did x times x, and then we need to figure out how we get 24. So I'm going to start writing down all my factors of 24. Obviously, we'll do 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 goes into 24 a total of 8 times, 4 goes into 24 6 times, 5 does not go into 24, 6 does, but since we already have it written down, we can stop. We need to figure out which one adds up to 11. The 3 and the 8 is obviously going to add up to a positive 11, so I'm going to have a positive 3 right here and a positive 8 right here. 3 times x is going to give me 3x, 8 times x is going to give me 8x, and then obviously my 8 times my 3 got me my 24. We'll see if 8x and 3x adds up. It does, so our factor is x plus 8 times x plus 3. Okay, now we have double negatives here. So this is going to give us a lot more factor options than we've had previously. Let's go ahead and do this one. We'll put the x squared here. We need it to add up to -2x and multiply to -15. To get x squared, we did x and x, and let's talk about -15. There are a lot of factors of -15, so let's start with a +1 and a -15. We could also do -1 and +15. 2 does not go into 15, so let's jump over to 3. We could do 3 and -5, or -3 and 5. 4 does not go into 15, 5 does, but we already have it listed. We need to decide which of these factors is going to add up to a -2. Obviously, 3 minus 5 is going to give us -2. So I'll put a +3 up here and a -5 down here. It's okay if that's switched, but it'll add up to the same thing. We'll have -3x in this corner, -5x here, and they add up to -2x. So our factor is x minus 5, x plus 3. Okay, let's keep going. We'll set this one up with a x squared in the top corner, a 3x off to the side, and then we want a -28. To get x squared, we did x times x, and then let's talk about our factors of -28. We'll start with 1 and -28, -1 and 28, 2 and -14, -2 and 14, 3 does not go into 28, 4 does not go into 28. Oh, excuse me. Yes, it does. I'm so sorry. Yeah, 4 does go into 28. Sorry, 7 times. I was getting ahead of myself. 4 times -7, or -4 times 7. Those were important ones. 5 does not go into 28. 6 does not go into 28. 7 goes into 28 4 times, but of course we already have 7 listed. So We need one of these pairs to add up to 3. And our -4 and our +7 is going to add up to 3. So I'll write a +7 and a -4. I'll have 7x here, -4x here. 7 minus 4 is a +3, and 7 times -4 is -28. So our factor is x minus 4, x plus 7. And for this one, we are going to make our box. We'll get x squared in the top, -12x off to the side, and 20 on the bottom. To get x squared, we obviously did x and x. We're trying to get factors of 20 to add up to -12. Obviously, if you have a positive multiply, you're multiplying to a positive and you're adding up to a negative, both of them have to be negative. So we could have -1 and -20, -2 and -10, -4 and -5, and -5's already on there. So obviously we're going to select the -2 and -10. So it'll be -2 and -10. This will be -2x and -10x, which will add up to that -12x. So our factor on this one's going to be x minus 10 times x minus 2. The last problem we have is sort of a special case. This is called the difference of squares. And this happens when we have no number in the middle with our x, and we just have the x squared and we just have the actual number. So we're missing that x value in the middle. So what happened is that the x value actually canceled out, meaning the two values here and here added up to nothing. They canceled each other out. So we obviously did x and x to get x squared, and to get -49, you could do 1 and -49, -1 and 49, or -7 and +7. And what happens is we use the -7 and the +7 here and here, and we'd get -7x here and +7x, and they cancel out, leaving us with nothing in the middle. I actually am going to have a whole video showing you how to do different examples of these, because it's really cool how every single time those two squares in the middle